Coffee and Pan Dulce. How's that? Coffee and Pan Dulce.
Sounds great.
It sounded like a telenova. I mean,
Barb Bacon, and I'm a community advocate here in South Charlotte. If I had my buttons on today, it would be let's get some gun control. I'm tired of looking at the news and seeing this. Black Lives Matter in honor of our friend Joel. And let's have equal rights for everybody.
This is Jenny James Gunn. I am a community advocate here in Charlotte, North Carolina for LGBT women's rights with the National Organization for Women, gun sense laws with Moms and Men Action, and anything that extends equity to all. Thank you.
Christian Cano, you're the co-host. My buttons are Moms and Men Action, gun sense legislation, healthcare for all, Medicare for all, and also in my heart, Black Lives Matter on behalf of Joe Oldham, who's a guest of ours who passed away last year. That's it.
Good morning, everybody. It is another edition of Coffee Pan Dulce. It is April 26th already, so
wow.
It's the last show of the month. We're already
April has gone so fast.
The whole year's going by fast. I mean, it's been a running theme on the show. Yeah, I mean,
months,
frequent lists for me.
Yeah. Yours is in August.
Yeah,
it'll go by.
No, I'm September.
Oh, I thought you were August. Oh, okay. Well, no, I'll have to edit that one out.
No, it's fine. It's fine, because I'm right around of the day after September 16th, and so we a lot of times.
Oh, yeah. After Jesse says.
So my birthday always falls on Hispanic Heritage Month.
That's right. Yeah.
Which we start on September 16th.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times there's a lot of Latinx celebrations. And because I grew up in the Latin culture, living in South Texas, living in San Antonio, it's kind of normal for me. I'm not really surprised. I mean, like last year we had our LULAC kickoff party.
Yes. Yeah.
We had a barbecue. Outside barbecue with tents up and cupcakes.
Which we need to do it again this year, by the way, because we need to make that an annual tradition. So that note to self. So just plan on that.
But so it's and be myself not being Latinx, but being so tied to the culture, especially the Tejano culture in Texas, and growing up in it, and it just be normal for me. To me, and I love Tex-Mex, and I love the pageantry of the Battle Flowers Parade in San Antonio, and there's so many really neat cultural things that are so not only unique to the Tejano community, but in the San Antonio community, but just in the festivals and things that I've been with in my past, and just I don't know. Those are fun memories. Those are memories.
Those were good days.
That are also bittersweet because I know I would never live in Texas again. I know that it's not home anymore. And
I feel the same way.
That those, and I have no real desire other than if I had to do business in Texas, but there's nothing really to go back to there, and it's kind of sad. It's kind of but life goes on, and you live in other places, and a city's just a city to me anyway, in many ways.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Well, as Jenny, I think, said, welcome to Coffee and Pan Dulce. She
Yes,
did
I
say
did.
because I didn't hear her. Yes.
This is on two
I'm not
shows in a row.
hearing well today, Jenny. So welcome everyone to Coffee and Pan Dulce. I'm Christian Cano, one of your co-hosts. It's kind of a blah morning for me. We'll kind of explain why. I want to thank everyone who's joining us on Facebook Live, but also those who join us on YouTube, and the thousands who listen to us on your favorite audio podcast platform. Baby Trump Pinata is not joining us today. He's actually with his dad, who is being indicted somewhere. I can't remember. But St. Bernie is with us. But thank you, Jenny, for joining us. Barb's not going to be joining us this morning. As Jenny said, today is the last Wednesday of April 26th. Next time you watch us or you see this show with a new edition, it'll be May, Cinco de Mayo. Wow, right around the corner. So go by fast. But we'll get into all of that. Today's topic is, do Democrats eat kids? We're gonna have some fun with this one, as we always do. But before we do that, we're gonna go into Barb's current events.
And this is Barb's current events.
All right, here's Barb's current events. The very first current event is going. Jenny does. This is like a secret game show because Jenny doesn't know these ones yet, so I'm going to surprise her. First one: Fox News settles. Yeah, she did. When you watch her show, you'll know. She beat me to this one, even though her show comes on after this one. Fox News settles. We'll be talking about that one. There is a Moms for Liberty leader, I believe it's in Virginia or somewhere, I can't remember, I have to read the article, that she hijacked a dead person's Facebook page and posted stuff on this dead person's Facebook page that was against Moms for Liberty to drum up sympathy for Moms for Liberty. So I could pull up that article, but it shows you how crazy these Moms for Liberty people are. So that's this, and the last one is, do you remember that Wall Street recession that the MAGAs and the Christian nationalists and MTG and gas prices and inflation? It didn't happen. So I don't know if anyone remembered that, but anyway, so those are the three topics. Jenny, do you want to cover? I know you do. You want to cover any of those?
Sure. I'll knock out the Fox settlement first. I'm not shocked. I mean, most attorneys don't like to litigate. They don't like to go to trial. For Fox News, one, they would have to admit in court that they lied. You would see Tucker Carlson and all the other Fox News liars get impeached under oath and have to have their texts read out loud about they knew that they were lying. And even though that's been leaked and everybody knows that they lied, and you don't settle for $787 million if you're innocent. I mean, so that's almost $1 billion out of Rupert Murdoch's pocket. And that's a pretty good chunk for anybody. I mean, that's a large amount of money. That's not easy money to come up, especially when they're facing a second suit from another one of the voting machine companies. A lot of progressive pundits are mad because we didn't get the juicy trial that we were hoping for. But me personally, I'm not shocked. Lawyers like to get paid with the least amount of work, and because they were probably paid on a contingency on the Dominion side. Dominion wants to get paid, bottom line, and prove that they were right. And at the end of the day, $787 million is nothing to sneeze at, and they get the instant gratification now. And that's human nature. The other
Moms
topic,
for Liberty or Wall Street?
the Moms for Liberty, what a piece of shit organization that is. You know, to target schools and lie about trans kids and now fake, hijack some dead dude's social media to drum up bullshit. Not like they don't drum up their own bullshit themselves by doctoring photos of trans kids with arms that look like they've shaved off all the flesh to transition from female to male and build out penises and stuff like that. That never happened. You can't, they don't operate on trans kids. Just so everybody knows, it's against the medical standard. Every major medical body, governing body, goes by a certain standard, and it's completely against that. And the Moms for Liberty and the Republican Party have targeted trans kids or used them as an excuse to privatize schools. And this is a crazy campaign. So I'm not shocked. I mean, that's a very Nazi propaganda style way of operating. I'm sure they're guilty of way more. We just haven't figured it out yet. Mm-hmm. But they are in 37 states trying to destroy 37 statewide school systems. And that's why they go after school boards. So, yeah, I mean, they always create controversy. And it really is tied into the third in the news thing, which is they tried to manufacture a Wall Street meltdown. They tried to manufacture a recession that just never happened because they're trying to go into a presidential election year after disappointing midterms and getting walloped in the 2020 elections. They're trying to manufacture a recession that wasn't going to happen. That the reason companies have been so successful in raising prices and creating inflation and making record profits. How are you going to go into a recession when companies are making record profits and peoples and the governments are letting them get away with it? You can't have both. You can't have record profits and manufacture a recession because people are still buying the products. They haven't stopped purchasing as much as we're complaining about prices.
They keep buying.
The grocery stores, the stores, and Amazon are doing record amount of business in 2023. Mm-hmm. And we just have such a robust economy that's been boosted by very strategic Biden moves. And record profits are fueling expansion and record low unemployment. That means there's hardly anybody unemployed in this economy. You almost have to want to be unemployed or have some type of disability that keeps you from being employed to be unemployed in this. Mm-hmm. Or you choose to stay home and take care of a family member or your kids or whatever. But literally anybody that wants work can get work. Mm-hmm. It's 2 or 3 jobs ends me,
it's one of the first times I remember in my lifetime. I mean, really, I don't remember it ever being this pro-worker, so to speak. You know what I mean? I don't ever remember it being like this before.
Well, it probably was when we were young, when unions were strong.
Oh, yeah, maybe when I was,
But when Nixon and especially Reagan broke all the unions for the most part and destroyed organized labor as we know it in this country, then it shifted back to the employer having all the major employers having all the power. That changed in the 80s. I mean, the Republicans targeted organized labor because of their large donors, said, we don't like this organized labor thing. This is standing between us and record profits and stealing from our employees. We don't like it. And companies like Walmart, never allowed unionization in their stores, and illegally so. I mean, union busting is illegal. It's immoral. And it artificially kept wages down but now that the pandemic happened and so many people disappeared out of our labor force in a short period of time because they're dead or they have long COVID, we have a situation where a massive shift in our population, a shortening of lifespans. We've had so many people die that the average lifespan is 2 years shorter than it was pre-COVID. And it's accounting for those early deaths of COVID. You know, it wasn't just 80-year-olds that died. Your labor pool changed. Even some of those older people were caretakers for their grandkids and great-grandkids. All those people disappeared. And so you have to account for that. And that changed, monumentally changed our society. It's a huge societal shift. You can't not account for that. You know, that's going to change. It's going to change your labor pool. When you have mass deaths.
Well, I mean, I just, you know, I mean, kind of like what you were talking about with the Fox. I know you're going to cover this a lot on your show, and you do, because we tape it before this one. So I know what's already been said. But you know, the Fox News thing, I know you were talking about how some progressives or some people were kind of upset that Dominion settled, or that Fox settled and Dominion accepted the settlement. There's no way to spin this. This is bad for Fox News. I mean, they basically have said, A, we are too cowardly to fight this because we know we're going to lose. And B, we are so ashamed, embarrassed, and we don't want to embarrass our CEO, our Murdoch, and the hosts that have to go on the stand, that we're willing to pay almost $1 billion so they don't get damaged anymore. And you know, this is not like we settle and we don't have to apologize. No, they settled and they still have to apologize. So that is. Think about that. Usually they settle and they say, okay, we accept no blame. No, the agreement was, that I understand, is they settled, plus they still have to apologize. And so they have to somehow, I guess in their settlement, do something on their air. I don't know if it's a PSA or whatever they have to do that. Yes, I'm sure they're gonna turn it around, you know, like we really didn't do it, but we have to say this. So that's just crazy. This Moms for Liberty thing is, I'm not surprised. These are some crazy people. It's like, you know, like you said before, at one time, Moms for Liberty is like the female Proud Boys. They're like, you know, the female Proud Boys. So wasn't surprised.
It has the same purpose.
Yeah.
You know, when you have a group that's designated to create shock and awe and cruelty in a society, like a Ku Klux Klan, Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, Moms for Tyranny, and you're burning books and, you know, lying about certain minority populations, what could go wrong? You know, like, it's no big deal. Just,
what can happen?
Pray and spray, you know, and it just target. I think the Moms for Liberty are just such big old pieces of shit, honestly, is the fact that you're targeting kids. Like, I'm not okay with them targeting adults, like queer adults and things like that, but at least we have an adult voice and we have adult reasoning. I think when you target kids, there's a special place in whatever hell. You know, if really bad colon cancer can happen to somebody, I hope it happens in mass pandemic forms to Moms for Liberty, like you know, really painful deaths. You know, and you know they're spreading around COVID because you know these type of people are still the anti-vax, anti-COVID denier, mask holders.
When you meet a Moms for Liberty person, which I've seen them, you know, when you meet these women, my first thinking is, God, I'd hate to be your husband and your kids. I mean, you know, their husbands either are cheating on them, want to cheat on them, or something's going on, or their kids are like going, God, yeah, they're just crazy.
They're all like empty wackos. They're one of them was on a podcast thingy with a social justice warrior called Chris Evans, and he's a black male gay man that's absolutely hilarious. He's on Twitter. He is, you know, very proactive in LGBT rights and especially trans rights. And he just confronted and had the receipts to prove these Moms for Liberty wrong. And at the end of the short conversation, this Moms for Liberty, all she could say is, yeah, okay. And then gets off the air. She just jumps off the, she could, like if her ass was on fire, she couldn't have jumped it faster.
That's crazy. Well,
because she tried to lie her way out of it, like most Republicans do, and couldn't.
Well, and that goes into that. Yeah, that goes into the last one, the Wall Street recession that never happened. Go figure. I mean, this just goes into the long line of watch out. This is gonna. No, it didn't happen. Watch out. This is gonna happen. No, it didn't happen. Watch out. This is gonna happen. No, it didn't happen. So the 2024 election campaign. I know you and I talk about this all the time. To just be one big commercial. Remember when they said, and this happened. Remember when they said Bud Light will make you gay? It didn't happen. Remember when they said, this or that? It didn't happen. And so it just goes into the long line of fake outrage, fake, from fake people. So it's.
Well, you do know that being gay is contagious.
Oh yeah, of course it is. We spread it all the time.
I'm wondering when the boogeyman theory of mass epidemics of straight men becoming gay is going to happen, because conservatives have been beating this drum since before Stonewall 50 years ago, but especially of late is the way they say it. They won't say it's contagious, but the kids, that's why you don't need to have LGBT people near
grooming.
That will just, by being near us, a drag queen reading a book to them is going to spontaneously make them gay or normalize gayness. Well, first of all, with fuckers like this, there's never going to be a normalization of LGBT people because they're not going to allow it until we finally drown out their voices and show them to be the stupid idiots that they really are. But it's not contagious. Like, kids are not going to, like a 7th grader is not going to wake up and go, I know I'm going to get bullied, and I know it's going to be awkward, and my family's probably going to disown me at some point, but I really, really want to be gay because I think it's cool to be gay.
Yeah.
Because when you ask them this one really important question, this is the one question that will stump homophobes, is when did you choose to be straight? And the motherfuckers can't answer it. They don't know how to, well, I always was. No. If you can choose to be gay, you can choose to be straight. It doesn't go just one way. So when did you choose to come out as straight?
Yeah.
And they can never answer it because there is no answer. You never chose to be straight. You don't choose to be gay. You don't choose to be trans. I didn't wake up one moment and just said, I really want to be trans and I want to be queer. And I want that life for me. In fact, some of us spend a lifetime fighting against that to the detriment of our own selves, because it's such a scary world when you come out, and you have to come out if you're queer, because straight privilege is, if you're straight, that's just the norm that they've created, because queer is wrong. It's inherently wrong according to our society. You're some kind of deviant. You're some type of pervert if you're gay. No, you're not. There's nothing wrong with somebody being gay or lesbian or bisexual or trans or intersex or whatever. It's just who we are. We didn't choose it. It chose us. And because nobody would go through the shit we go through in our society, if it was a wonderful, trendy choice, we would have to have a lot of idiots in our community. And we do have some, but we don't have a mass amount of idiots. That's on the other side. That's on the big.
Hey, Jen, hold that thought. We're really late on our first break, so we're going to come back and I'm going to continue what you're talking about, because I know we're not going to have a lot to say to Democrats eat kids, because this is a very simple answer. Some of us do, but we've gotten rid of that one. She's a Republican now. So we'll take our first break on Coffee and Pan Dulce right after this.
Hey, y'all, thanks for watching, and support local black and brown businesses, including our sponsor, Manolo Bakery. That has some fabulous pastries, food, king cakes, all kinds of specialty cakes, tamales, and much, much more. Some of the best food we eat in Charlotte, North Carolina. Again, Manolo Bakery, right here in East Charlotte. Thanks for watching.
Well, welcome back, everyone. And so, real quickly, to your conversation about what you were talking about earlier, I have a theory, and I was when I was in the undisclosed location a couple of weeks ago. I had really great visits with my dad several days, and one of our conversations was about this push, this don't say gay, transgender stuff, the stuff that you and I talk about, quite often. And I was talking to my dad about it, and I think he was trying to see how I felt about that. And basically, I think I kind of surprised him. I said, Dad, this doesn't really, it hurts because I know people that maybe don't have the skill set to deal with this. They don't have the life experiences that we have, that you and I have, and we're gaining them all the time. This is really a knock on you. And I talked to my dad. So this is a knock on you. And anyone who's a parent, grandparent, or family member, aunt, sister, tia, Theo, cousin of a gay person. Because what these crazy ass Christian nationalists, MAGAs, religious wacko nuts, Moms for Liberty, they're saying, y'all are the reason I'm gay. So I know I'm gay. So I'm at peace with it. And maybe that's what pisses them off, is because they don't get to me anymore. I'm like, bye, Felicia, but not everybody is at that level in their life. But really who they're talking about is y'all. So if anyone should be mad, they're calling you the groomer, because they're saying that the reason I'm gay is because you groomed me to be gay. Because you didn't take me to a drag queen show, did you? Nope. You took me to church, right? Yep. And I'm gay. So basically what they're saying is, you're the one who made me gay. And when I said that, he said, oh, wow. I guess they're knocking me. Well, so if you're watching this show, basically what these people are saying is, you were the reasons why.
And this is the argument that I got into with Annette on Facebook many months ago during the last election season.
One of our former co-hosts, yeah. Our not co-hosts, guests.
Yeah. And,
okay.
And very misguided, misinformed. Annette was trying to side with the Moms for Liberty against a Democrat, and saying that schools are violating parents' rights when a kid comes out of school and wants to be in a safe bubble, because it's such a crazy idea that schools can be a safe place for kids. They should be doing shooters drills and reinforcing windows and doors and shit, and having teachers carry guns, because, they need to be wide earp as well as trying to educate kids. But anyway, the cockamamie bullshit story of schools, they're basically inferring that, on one hand, parents aren't being told that their kids are queer universally, and that schools are fostering gayness and keeping gay porn in the libraries and all this. This is actually being said, and in some circles saying they're letting kids be furries at school, and they should literally have litter boxes in a classroom here in North Carolina, which has all been debunked, and it's just the typical bullshit. And this is Moms for Liberty cranking up all of this. This is one of their deals to defund and privatize public schools. And at the same time, they're saying parents can't make good decisions when they're trying to deny a parental right of allowing their kids to seek medical care for being trans. And so I look at them and go, well, which is it? Is parents being informed and talking to their doctors, their family doctors, about their trans kids maybe going in talk therapy, maybe going on some kind of hormones, puberty blockers, this sort of thing. So as a parent, you can't do that anymore. In fact, we'll put your doctor in jail if you do that. But at the same time, the same parents are being told that they are trans. So again, which is it? Which story, which lie do they want to tell? It's very bizarre because they fly in the face because this is happening and already happened in 20 states where they've lied so much about trans kids. They're taking away their medical access, their humanity, and their human rights to be able to seek medical help, including therapeutic, like talk therapy and stuff like that. If you help a trans kid at all medically, they go after the medical practitioners. They'll throw them in fucking jail. It's a felony. But at the same time, the parents aren't being told. And so I think it's a very bizarre thing, and I think it goes into our topic of the day, the Democrats eat kids. These QAnon whack jobs just think they can say whatever narrative. And I mean, honestly, almost all of our three news topics are related because Fox News can just say, well, Dominion voting machines just didn't count Trump votes, and that's why Biden won. They think you can just say whatever you want, that's what free speech is. And there has to be a certain responsibility in democracy. So if you lie and you commit defamation, you deserve to lose some lawsuits. If Moms for Liberty is going to lie about trans kids, then trans organizations and LGBT organizations need to sue the dog shit out of the Moms for Liberty. To me, on several different grounds. Because if you're going to lie, you're going to commit perjury and you're going to commit fraud, which is what this really is. This is large-scale fraud to hurt a sectionality of the Democratic Party, which is the LGBT community. You start targeting, I think that's how you fight back. I think that's you can only, not that protests aren't effective, they're actually very effective. But I think there has to be a change in the narrative, and we have to hit the Moms for Liberty as hard as we humanly can. And I think one of them is court action, injunctions, sue the dog shit out of them. That's an old school Republican conservative tactic.
Well,
and I think we have.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, didn't mean to interrupt you, but we're going to take our second break here. But speaking of dog shit, we are going to talk about Trisha Kothemap actually right after we come out from this break. So we'll be right back on Coffee Pan Dulce right after this. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching our Coffee Pan Dulce show every week. Don't forget you can watch us visually on our video podcast platforms on Facebook and YouTube, but you can also listen to us on your favorite audio podcast platforms like Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and all of the other ones that your favorite, whatever your favorite is. Once again, thank you for watching us on Coffee Pan Dulce. We'll dance out. All right, we'll welcome back. So let's. We're only going to go ahead.
These conservatives create these urban myths. I guess that's what you would call them, is these false narratives, these urban myths, like the cabal, Democrats, and certain billionaires meet in that one grove out in the woods in the West somewhere, and they dance around fires and do pagan rituals, and then they eat kids. This is where all this comes from, actually. This is over this original story came from 1904, and it used to be Henry Ford, the Rockefellers, the Roosevelts, and then it's moved from the political enemy of the conspiracy theorists. It's become it was the Clintons for a while. I think actually the Bush family was involved with it too. And over the century, it's evolved and all this. And when you're talking about somebody like a Tricia Cawthon, for example, that's gotten hooked up with the Moms for Liberty, that's gotten influenced and probably paid by them, you see a political coward and, quite frankly, just not a real smart person that doesn't make good decisions and is a chronic pathological liar, like a Tricia Cawthon, for example, to make all these promises to some groups, and I guess was making the same promises to other groups that we just didn't know she was doing. She kept her. I guess that's why you keep your Ku Klux Klan robe in a certain part of your closet, so public. You don't keep it in your coat closet where guests can put in a cloak. Go, oh wow, I didn't know you were in the Klan. When you're burning crosses on Saturday night, or stopping by Charlottesville, lighting tiki torches and complaining about Jews replacing us. But I think you take somebody like a Tricia Cawthon that has the ultimate in political cowardice, and that's the kind of government we deserve. I mean, we foster that, we coddle that, and
what I was going to say was, when we get into this topic, because we won't talk about this long because it's such a silly topic, but we wanted to do it as clickbait, so that way those who like to troll our show will watch us. If you listen to us this far, I contemplated getting a baby doll, but Jenny talked me out of it and chewing on it so that it would go viral. But
I said, no, we don't need that kind of optics.
Exactly.
We have some. We got enough.
Yeah.
And honestly, you say enough.
I know.
We should always be controversy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what started this show, was controversy about things you said. I mean, truthfully, I mean,
that's the truth. She speaketh the truth.
You had white women throwing sticking pins into Christian Cano dolls for probably years. Maybe some still do. But it is what it is.
I mean, so what I was going to say about Trixie Tricia is that we alluded to this on your show later on, the one that drops after this one. I kind of briefly talked about it. And there is this bizarre time that we're in for many, many reasons. But the most bizarre part of the time that we live in is the MAGA Republican Party, or the Republican Party. They're just getting dumber and dumber. And I keep thinking, no, they can't get dumber. They keep getting dumber and dumber. And the dumber and they are self-destructing. There's no rational path that I see to sustainability with their policies and their rhetoric. Because the more extreme and the more extreme, because they can't stop themselves. It is the most bizarre thing to see that we are going to become a party within 10 years that flips the elites, the privileged, the educated, are now considered the Democrats, and the corporations, Disney, the big companies, the CEOs, all the man is now the Democrats. And the lower educated, the people who are outraged all the time are the other half. And what I'm saying is the middle people, and we have someone like Barbara, who's on our show, who maybe not as vocal as you and I, but she's one of our co-hosts. There's a lot of people like her, and when they see these two next to each other, they may not say it to us, but they're like, that's gotten too crazy for me. And it has gotten so crazy that all the stuff that we're going to have to go through in the next year because of what's happening, it's going to take them forever to dig themselves out of it. And so it's almost like watching a bad wreck where you don't want to watch it, but you want to watch it.
Yeah. Well, but it's a self-inflicted wound.
Yes.
They decided from 1980 on, when the ABF formed and all this internal conservative think tank group like the Koch brothers and stuff like this made a concerted effort and funded this movement to guide the Republican Party in conservative thinking in specific paths, which was the number one priority was chaos and cruelty, division, targeting minorities, things of that nature. It was a very purposeful deal because they just lost all the segregation trials for the most part. They just, women, especially women of color, were gaining traction. People of color were gaining traction because they just had national civil rights things, and the now I guess defunct idea of the ERA was gaining ground and getting ratified in states and in the 1970s, and we saw the absolute failure of the Nixon administration, and we saw this anti-war, pro everybody but white straight men or straightish men, and this elevation of a real rainbow coalition forming it scared the dinosaurs. It scared the powerful white men going, we actually have to contend with the melting pot. We actually have to contend with people that are different than us. Homosexuals are gaining
because actually, Jenny, that is a free market idea. That is a free market capitalistic idea, is to accept change because we know there's money that comes with it. So that's actually that's actually like, I want a diverse customers because that means we make more money. Yeah.
When it damages the continuity of your society, number one, it hampers your economy. But number two, it dampens your labor pool as well. Think about all the lost productivity by purposely not developing HIV medications on time. Think about purposely locking out foreign drugs that could have saved lives. Think about mass incarceration, how it's expanded up to 2 million Americans living in basically work camps and slave camps. Slavery's alive and well. It's just been governmentalized instead of the plantations of the 21st century with these private prisons. And you look at all these things that they've done, and now they're going specifically out of parts of LGBT. They're doing forced births with women, cis women. And you look at all this. This is all designed to hamper the strongest legs of not only the Democrat Party, but it's also, these are typically the voices that would have marched against them. And by just damaging them enough, because this is really a long-term war of attrition. Who's going to last the longest?
Yeah.
And progressives always, people in general want the progress of their society, especially younger. Yeah. And they're always going to win the long-term war for the most part. Whether it rages on for generations or it's a short civil war, whatever it is. And the conservative powers to be are always going to keep fighting that war. Really, what we're faced with today is, are we going to fight back, and when are we going to fight back? Is it wise to just look the other way and go, well, we'll just wait it out for a couple more years?
Yeah.
And then it won't be a problem. I can understand that. I don't agree with it in any shape or form.
Neither do I. Neither do I.
Because even though 5,000 boomers a day die in this country, and that's just a medical reality, counting on a death rate hoping that enough Republicans died of COVID, hoping that other birth rates and younger generations coming up in adulthood are going to save us, without us being proactive in leadership, is a recipe for disaster. Because what if, they just get so powerful that we can't unlock it? Because we started this country as an oligarchy where only 1% of the population voted in the first presidential election. Out of 30-something million Americans in that first presidential election, only 40,000 were eligible to vote. Look at the minority amount of Republicans that live in Texas that completely control that state. It's a small portion of the population, but it's controlled the state for a quarter of a century.
Yeah.
And how did that happen?
Yeah.
And it's because 11 million adult Texans will not vote. And so if they create...
Jenny, I wish... Yeah. No, go ahead.
But when you establish a dominant minority, which is what the Republicans are doing in Florida and Texas, for example, and I like to use Florida and Texas because at one time they were way more of a... When we were kids, they were purple states. They weren't decidedly blue. They weren't decidedly red. We saw, in our childhood, we saw red and blue governors all the time. In fact, back in the 80s and early 90s, that swapped every election. We had the Mark Whites, Ann Richardses, and the Republicans in that state were not unhinged fascists. Honestly, that's why we became such a pro-business state. It was more of a let and live society. We were proud of our state, but we were also at one time considered a friendly state. We were a livable state, not a fascist state like it is now, where we got all these mouth breathers wanting to create goon squads and things of this thing and police the bathrooms and, swear allegiance in a Nazi in school.
Hey, listen, I want to talk about this really quickly before we go to this last break, because the last break, we're going to be talking about two other things after the last break. Democrats eat kids. Here, in 30 seconds or less, give me your best 30-second answer.
I don't know. I guess the best answer is I'm never amazed by the stupidity of Republicans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that whole QAnon thing about the cabal, that's one of the oldest urban myth, bullshit, conspiracy theories in the world. If they could ever prove even 10% of the bullshit that comes out of their mouth, it would be a considerably different world. But they live in a different world.
Okay.
So now,
okay. So that's your answer. So here's my go ahead, because I got my funny answer. Yeah. All right. Oh, yeah. To know which these mean, you're gonna have to watch our show afterwards. So my answer is, if we did, it wouldn't be dumbass MAGA kids. We would eat something that we could benefit from. It wouldn't be their kids. Why would we eat a Qnon person's kids?
Coffee Pan Dulce does not encourage cannibalism or
that's right. Yeah, I'm just saying, it's such a stupid statement.
Of course it is.
Let's just give them a 0.5%, even though it's so stupid. What? We wouldn't eat your kids. I mean,
right?
This is crazy.
White and bitter. But with a horrible aftertaste. But see, this is the problem, though. Is they throw out these fucking insane things like this. So when they throw out something that's so unhinged, but slightly less unhinged, that's them coming to the middle. And that's how they frame the deal that there's a far left and there's a far right. There's
Exactly.
just a far,
Mhm.
and then there's
Mhm.
regular people.
Mm-hmm.
And there was somebody, a Republican from South Carolina, that's in the House of Representatives, that she was trying to make normalize abortion bans, and acting like the Republican cares about cis women, because she knows, and why she was saying what she was saying is that she's trying to walk back the history of this recent history of this, to talk about women's health care, maternity care, and things like that, and specifically in South Carolina. I'm like, well, those are important subjects. I do agree with her on that.
Yeah.
But it's because you're forcing birth.
Yeah. So
In the state of Florida, that you got to have an affidavit proving that you were raped or molested to get an abortion. Yeah, when you create such an insane amount of legislation saying you don't have any access to abortion whatsoever in an extreme case, and somebody swears on a stack of Bibles that the 6-year-old girl was molested by her greasy Republican uncle, then of course, setting up women's clinics in rural South Carolina is very important. But you created such a crazy story about abortion and took it all away.
Yeah.
That you have to create another crazy story that you're worried about healthcare.
So this was what you and I were talking about before the break. I mean, before the show, and we've been talking about this, especially lately. This is how you know they're so scared and they're so in trouble. That what you just said was an example, an elite of what they have been telling each other over the last couple of months through their talking points. Because the Republican congressperson from Texas, the Hispanic guy, the Tejano guy, spilled the beans when he said he was trying to mansplain on CNN about abortions. And he said, we need to get away from talking about abortions. Women need to talk about other things. He was basically telling you what they have been talking about. Their fear is this abortion thing is killing us. We've got to somehow change the topic. Transgender, bathroom, gay, drag queens, this. We got to throw everything at the wall because we got to take the book banning. We got to do everything we can woke because this abortion thing is killing us. And that's how they know they're in so much trouble.
Because their cruelty caught up to them, because 52% of the population is cis women. Yeah. And less than 1% of the population is trans women. And so if you concentrate on the trans women and the drag queens,
then they will say,
looking over 52% of the population, the majority of our population across the board, you really fucked up. You got women leaving the Republican Party in droves over this, going, I'm a pro-choice and a pro-life person, but Hoss, you took it too far, because now my 24-year-old daughter got raped last week in an abortion because she was in Florida. And now I've either got to help move her out and move her to a sanctuary state, which there's only 5 right now. There's only 5 sanctuary states that have put in law to protect people that can get pregnant and choose to leave their state to get an abortion, but have to live in that state to be safe from prosecution. Think about that, for example, in 2023, 5 states have passed abortion sanctuary laws where they have to live in that state and get the protection of that state to be refugees from their home.
Okay.
American refugees, internal refugees. Yeah. That's how far the alt-right is gone.
Well,
and these Republicans now are acknowledging we can't walk back our stance on abortion.
Mm-hmm.
But this is such a significant societal shift before Dobbs, that cis women are sitting here in horror, going, "Oh fuck, what do we do?" Especially with
and I think that's and I think their fear is showing right now because they're in and we'll talk about it. Listen, let's take our if you like what you're hearing from Jenny, she does have a show that comes on 30 minutes after this. It's called Two Queers in a Truck, where she talks about 6 great items. I think today she talked about 5.5 because we taped it already. So I can tell you it's a good show. This next break talks about that one. So we'll be right back on Coffee and Pan Dulce.
Up next is Two Queers in a Truck with Jenny and Christian. And hope you guys tune in. We'll see you in about 15 to 20 minutes. Thank you. Bye.
Well, welcome back, everyone. And we're going to go directly into the Pendejo Chronicles. And this is the Pendejo Chronicles. Jen, I don't know if you've had a chance to kind of go over reading any ones, but I do want to read one that I just thought was kind of hilarious.
Yeah, you go ahead.
I think all right. Okay, so we have a fan who apparently watched our show, Who Are America's Real Taxpayers, which was the last show that dropped, which was last week. And out of the blue, decided to post something that had nothing to do with our show, which is not abnormal. But what I thought was very interesting is this person's name is Robert Lezek. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Says this person's from Plantation, Florida, at least on social media. Plantation, Florida has about 79 friends, so it's more than likely not a real account, unless it's just no one likes this person. So one of those two. And basically copied and pasted some Google kind of statements and said, it depends on what tax you're talking about. For income, the top 10% pay something like 50% of the tax burden, which is not true. But, the top 20%, something around 80% of the total you haul government ranks in the bottom 50%, because 20 and 50 make 70, but apparently he thinks 20 and 50, the bottom 50 is, okay, can't add. 50% income earners pay a minimal amount, and most actually get money back, according to this person. Remember, Democrats controlled the House for 70 years and went to the tax code, Jim Crow laws, complaining about yourselves and minorities, and just when all the diatribe of what a crazy, angry, probably white supremacist nationalist, low-educated person said, did all this kind of stuff. So when I saw that, and I think you saw it as well, Jen, the instinct was to. It was just so much stuff that had nothing to do with the show. It wasn't like, we pay, a normal person would have replied back, if you are lower educated, a blue collar kind of lower person who maybe doesn't make a lot of money, would have said, yeah, we need to get corporations to pay. They don't pay their fair share. Billionaires don't pay their fair share. This is one of the MAGA mindset is defending people that take advantage of him, and then is doing the talking points of Trump, so to speak. And it was all over the place. And more importantly, this person is saying that Democrats are the reason for this. Well, Jenny quite honestly posted, hey, just want to remind you, the last 20 years, Democrats haven't always controlled the House. And the argument for this was so all over the place. But what I thought was the most interesting thing was this is a person who lives in Plantation, Florida. Anybody who knows anything about Florida and Fort Lauderdale, Plantation is like the Monroe to Charlotte. It is where if you can't afford to live in Charlotte, you move out to Monroe. Nothing wrong with that, but that's kind of what it is. It's like the cheaper place to live. but you still live in Fort Lauderdale, so you still get the, the fanciness of living in the area. But when you have a plantation address, it means that you can't really afford to live on the other side of the street, which is where, all the other people who live in Fort Lauderdale live. And so it was interesting to see this person post this, who, if this was a burner account, which it probably is, listed Plantation, Florida as their home, not like South Beach, Miami or something, but has given us advice on what taxpayer, the highest tax rate people, and any person, even Trump himself said, only a fool pays taxes. Trump, that was Trump's whole defense.
But when you hear these, and this fan / troll, pop off, they always have a lot of the same talking points and word vomit, and they start trying to rewrite history. And so when I responded to him, and I just screenshot a partial list of the speakers of the House since 1999, since January, and basically 2/3 of the time, the speakers of the House and the majority in the House of Representatives were Republican. So 16 of the 24 years it's been controlled by the Republicans, and only 8 of it since 1999, basically this quarter of a century, was the Democrats, and specifically the whole time was Nancy Pelosi twice, two 4-year stints. And debunking these guys aren't hard, and they're not going to even believe, or they're going to mouth off even when we read them. Their denial or disconnect with history goes, well, I said 70 years. I'm like, well, you got access to Google like I have access to Google.
But that's even a worse argument, Jenny. Isn't it?
Yeah.
That's even a worse argument.
It's actually, because really the last 24 years is what's the current pattern that we fell into. And so it actually makes you look dumber. So yeah, I can look up who was the House Speaker in 1940, but does it really impact what's going on now? The last 24 years of trend is what's directly impacting politics today, because that's who's in politics right now, is the people who have been in it the last quarter of a century. So why talk about 1940 or 1950?
Because basically what this
context.
It's as dumb as the Texas argument. Yeah, good.
But we're applying critical thinking and logic.
I have to remind myself exactly.
Standard that people that probably barely can find their way out of their own home.
It's like watching a horror movie and yelling at the TV and going, "Why are you doing that?" Oh gosh, this is a movie. I have to remember. This is the kind of jackass that we just saw on Twitter yesterday, going to a Walmart, going to the beer coolers, and destroying the wrong brand of beer. Now, you shouldn't destroy any brand of beer because of a rainbow on some mythological packaging, but you probably shouldn't go out and take cheap-ass Bush beer and be throwing it around. Like he threw, well, I don't know how much, those 12 packs probably aren't, but $4. But he threw out at least a couple weeks of paychecks from this mouth breather, wearing sweatpants and wearing a wife beater, tossing around, a whole cooler full of Bush beer, and then realized his mistake. Somebody yelled, "Wrong beer, jackass!" And so he started throwing some Bud before the cops came in and said, "We got to take you to jail, jackass." Well, as we have said many, 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 many times on this show, a lot of these MAGAs and a lot of these Christian nationalists, MTG, for example. I was going to say it's about MTG, but a lot of these individuals, they have no real talent, no skill in a world where you either are going to make money, be successful because you have a critical thinking talent, go into the arts, go into music, entertainment, whatever the case may be.
Sure.
They have none talent. The only talent they have is fake outrage, possibly get elected. Because otherwise, they're going to be at Hobby Lobby. They're going to be, working somewhere This is their only opportunity to
conservatives
be somebody
in general are low information people.
Yeah.
You have to be a low information people to be in that group of people, because if you had any kind of critical thinking skills, any kind of research skills, you literally wouldn't do anything that they do or fall for it or create the lie. You have to be an idiot on some kind of level to completely disconnect from reality like that. And a lot of them want to be reality stars, whether it's getting into politics and becoming a reality star or being a politician.
Yeah,
because it's an easy path to get into. It's easy to become infamous in this world with all the technology we have.
Yeah.
But once you get your 15 minutes of fame, most people are done with you. They've already judged MTG, rightfully so. She's done it to herself. But once you've gotten to a certain level of idiocy, they become they either have to do something more and more outrageous, like a Tucker Carlson that has to say stupider and stupider things every week, to the point to where he's making light gay porn and making up and buying into just crazy theories like, do Democrats eat babies? Or you fall into obscurity because you haven't kept up with the left, the amount of bullshit it takes to stay stupidly famous for being stupid. And it's hard work to stay stupid, as Ben Franklin said. You've got to work at it.
It's exhausting. I know it's exhausting watching them, but I was going to say this about MTG when you were talking about it earlier, was that this shows you how crazy the MAGA and Republican Party is. MTG, you would think her message about anti-war, that is a baby boomer, hippie, young progressive, Bernie Sanders, out of the box statement, right? She is so crazy that no one wants to be connected with anti-war because she's crazy. To be really crazy to turn anti-war people, I mean, that we were pushed back and go, oh, hold on a second. She's, I don't want to be connected to her. She's so crazy.
Well, it's really rich coming from a political party that got us into 20 years worth of wars over.
Exactly. Yeah.
Not that 9/11 wasn't nothing, but even Reagan wouldn't have gotten us into a two-front war. You know how he handled Gaddafi, that committed terroristic, murderous acts against Americans on the Kelly Laurel, for example, and was tied to several other bombings. He went right after Gaddafi. He went and sent the first smart bomb recorded on TV. We watched with a camera in the 1980s when it hit Gaddafi's home and family compound and blew up most of his kids and family members. And Reagan just basically said, yeah, keep coming at us, we'll keep bombing your house. And Gaddafi went quiet for a long, long time. We didn't hear from him for years. And had we could have just gone after bin Laden the same way, and this whole thing, 9/11 thing, would have been over in a few weeks. Instead, we decided to invade two countries. The Republican Party made a decided choice to invest in the war. Now all of a sudden, we can't fight Russia.
Well,
peace, love, dope.
I just think. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene. You would think that would be something that we could find common agreement on, but she is so crazy that no matter what she says, there's no one is ever going to move towards her because she's just crazy. Because we know there's something hidden behind it. She doesn't really mean anti-war. What she means is, I don't want to kill white people. I don't mind going to war in Mexico. I don't mind going to war in black or brown countries. I don't want to go to war in white countries. And so she's doing her white nationalist kind of thing, but people have caught on to it. Hey, before we, because we've actually run out of time, Our next segment, which you're not going to Jenny and I aren't going to see because it's going to be edited in, is a new segment of our show called Coffee and Pan Dulce Concerts. This next segment is talking about, or actually is showing the first addition to that. It is a concert by William Beckman in Billy Bob's Texas, which I went to. And if you want to know how the concert is, stay tuned. And this next segment will tell you how that concert went. the Coffee Pan Dulce Show. Thanks for following.
Billy Bob's Texas. We want to thank all the hospitality professionals at Rodeo Plaza, BillyBobsTexas.com. American Airlines, we want to thank all the professional flight crews and ground crews that got us to Texas safely and back. They can be reached at AA.com. The Sheraton Hotel Fort Worth on Commerce Street, we want to thank all their hospitality professionals at Marriott.com. And the world-famous Angelo's Barbecue on White Settlement Road in Fort Worth, Texas. They can be reached at angelosbbq.com. We also want to thank the incredible, quality, awesome Tex-Mex restaurants in Fort Worth, Texas. And we want to thank others on your screen.
Well, I hope you enjoy the concert. That was just a small clip of what actually is the concert. So if you want to see the full version, go to our Facebook page or our YouTube page. Unfortunately, our podcast listeners aren't going to get much other than hearing what they hear. You actually have to kind of see about my trip to Texas and Billy Bob's Texas. And I hope you will enjoy his music as much as I did. So sorry to interrupt you, Jen. I know we've gone over a little bit, but I don't want to interrupt your thought. But, we're talking about MTG and all that kind of crazy stuff. It feels like we're in like the Twilight Zone, doesn't it? This last couple of weeks.
Well, I mean, just a couple of weeks ago, they were saying, well, how we need to end the drug war is to invade Mexico and invade Latin American countries and blow up drug lords. And the next week, MTG is saying we shouldn't be fighting against Russia. And I'm like, you literally just said a week ago, again, to your point, well, if we go bomb brown people in Mexico and El Salvador and everywhere else where supposedly all the fentanyl is coming from China to there and up through Mexico, which, border crossings is such a reliable way to move drugs because, God forbid, drug lords don't have submarines and shipping companies.
Because you can carry a lot on your back when you have to carry water.
Yeah, basic bare necessities like all your deals, and then they're going to carry 50 pounds of fentanyl too. By the way,
exactly.
It's just the dumbest. It's the dumbest thing. I'm like, yeah, there's no such thing as narco subs or paying off customs agents in a shipping port somewhere, or the fact that we have more coastline than we do southern border. And I'm pretty sure if I'm going to dump drugs in this country, I'm going to slide up to some kind of, bay or something and slip things off real quick onto a fishing boat or something where customs isn't going to be.
Or hey, how about this? How about go over the north border?
Yeah. And all the drugs that come through there, and New Hampshire's jumped into this and they're starting to wanting to do border checkpoints and things like that from Canada. So I guess they're buying into some of this MAGA crap. Or the fact that, I don't know, fentanyl is actually a pharmaceutical drug too. It's actually used as many, it has many different usages, but fentanyl actually is used in hospitals. A lot of people don't know this. There's not just a street drug version of fentanyl. There's a pharmaceutical grade of fentanyl, just like there's a pharmaceutical grade of heroin and many other drugs that these people are saying that is being brought, they're manufactured in the United States. The Chinese don't have to bring it in. We're already buying it. The pharmaceutical system. What a surprise. And that many of these people ODing in Republican and red counties are probably ODing off the pharmaceutical grade. Not that makes it any better, but it's a lie when you say what's all coming over the border, the southern border.
Jim, before we close down, I think this is really important because I didn't know about this until we taped your show, which comes on after. Kind of confusing. We can do it,
right?
If it confuses you. Explain to our viewers and listeners what's going on down in Texas with possibly checking people. You mentioned something. Explain to them what's going on there.
This Republican politician from Tyler, Texas, which is on the opposite side of the state of the international border. It's
East Texas, Rose capital of Texas.
You almost could walk to Texarkana.
That's right.
You're so close to the northeast. You're in the northeast part of the state, which is catty corner from there for people geographically challenged. He's proposing to basically create goon squads to go around checking people's legal citizen status. They're wanting to see your papers. Kind of like they did with freed slaves in other parts of the United States other than the South, is they would do paper checks. We're going back to that. So anybody that looks Latin American, Hispanic, Tejano, they basically have these civilian deputized militias, which I'm pretty sure is going to be like Proud Boys and MAGAs and whack jobs. They are strapped to the back.
And that's that was what's so bizarre about this story, Jenny. Is you and I know 70% of Texans are Tejano or a mixture of Tejano, Mexican American, a mixture of something.
Yeah,
so not all. 70% of them have dark hair like me.
Yeah, and on top of this, you have blended families that are part Mexican, part French. Because we got to realize that Texas is really more of a Latin American state. It's more of a Latin American country because it was part of New Spain and then Mexico way before it was Texas or the United States. So the majority of the OG Texans have some type of Latinx Hispanic heritage, of some type. And so there's multiple generation people there that are going to be harassed. That's if you're talking about a large, predominantly Hispanic Catholic church in Dallas, there's one that's the Guadalupe, our Guadalupe of something. It's got like 11,000 parishioners.
Yeah, Our Lady Guadalupe.
Which they, in the hearings that are up on the Twitter, they talk about posting up somebody there at that church as people are pouring out of mass, actually asking them what their legal status is. And my first thought is, what could go wrong with a bunch of white nationalist MAGAs armed to the teeth asking people as they pour out of church, kind of dazed and confused with all the kneeling and standing and chanting and all that, and thinking about everything but their legal status in this country, and having some kind of armed huge old white dude, some old hillbilly, ask them, well, what are your papers? Would that be disorienting? And they may not even be able to fathom the answer on that.
Mm-hmm.
But the shock and awe, the panic, what could possibly go wrong with that?
Well, I can tell you.
Yeah, like everything. Well, like everything. I mean, if you're minding your own business and you're trotting out, but maybe you're married, maybe you have kids, maybe you're older, whatever the case may be. But anytime you have somebody like that, like an authority-looking figure coming at you, it's a horrible.
So
it's a human rights violation. Yeah. It's illegal as shit.
So this is the reason I thought this was so interesting, because I didn't know about this until you told me. So thank you for talking about this on your show, or at least bringing it up. And I don't know if we talked about it before, but we talked about it. This is the reason I have almost like this is crazy, almost like an evangelical Christian. I've been waiting for the signs of the end of days. They have their kind of crazy vision. I've had my waiting for the signs. When will it actually tip in Texas? I've been waiting for that one sign. I knew, the abortion wasn't going to tip it. I knew, things. This is the sign that I know will tip, will flip. This one thing, they have gone so far that if we can continue to educate people and let them know what they're doing in Texas, regardless if your family has been there for 200 years, for 40 years, for whatever, every Texan who lives in Texas, native Texan, Tejano, whatever, even people who've moved there, are married into a Hispanic family or have friends in a Hispanic family. Everyone is intertwined there. This is the one thing that will be enough is enough. For the people who you and I have always said, what can actually tip them? This is the sign that I know can actually tip them.
And really, it's a little bit more insidious than this. So Arizona passed a law like that, I think in 2017 or 2018, early in the Trump administration. And it immediately got shut down with the Supreme Court, because we still had a common sense Supreme Court, pre putting, white nationalist Christians as a majority on that, and plus Clarence Thomas. And so now that we have an extremist Supreme Court, they're trying to test this idea of being able to build a brown shirt Gestapo that I believe whenever they do this, it's never really about the segment of the population that they're targeting. It's about testing out a means of cruelty. Like targeting trans kids was a soft place to attack body autonomy. I think this is a soft place to test the legality of creating goon squads and Gestapos and civilian, police militias, to see, now that they've legalized guns in all these red states to the point to where you can get a Coke, a pack of chewing gum, and a fucking militia kit all in the same store, like instantly, and you can carry it around like an idiot. I think it was to form these type of intimidation squads, and now that we have a crazy SCOTUS, seeing if this will pass the litmus test of our new reality of legalities. Because if they can form militia, do you think it's stop at brown people?
Well, I can tell you that this is the sign that I have been waiting for. That
are Dominicans and Cubans in Florida. What about queer people, where queerness has been ought in that state, either as trans or gay? What if they create a new health standard that gay sex is unhealthy and we need to round them up because of monkeypox and things of this nature? As Boebert suggested last year, we need to round up the gay men because of monkeypox. She blurted that out and then tried to walk it back. but did she really walk it back, or was this the foretelling of these gun nuts to say, hey, let's start targeting gay men, let's start rounding them up, let's start forming legal goon squads, and seeing how far that's one more narrative away from filling rail cars full of Americans going somewhere, and it's probably not going to be Disney. Because where are these civilians going to take people once these Latinx people can't answer it, or don't have the documentation on them, or don't need the documentation because they're Americans? Does that mean that conversation ends? Do they have what kind of power of arrest do these people have? Can they detain these people? Like there's a or just the sheer panic of being questioning who you are. And I've seen this in play before with the TSA agents and certain people of color getting harassed at airports and being questioned and detained for hours on end without due process. I personally know somebody from Texas that is Brazilian and Mexican in their bloodlines. Mm-hmm. And because he wore a shaggy beard, he looked like somebody more from like a Middle East country or something like that. He literally has been detained twice at 2 different American airports and questioning, are you really Miguel Hernandez or are you something else? Because the TSA is racist and wanted and had the power to detain them.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you from what you and I know about Texas and about our family in Texas, and they people ask us all the time, how can they keep voting the way they are? And how can they, as you always bring out, how can so many people not even vote? That the state is being controlled by such a small amount of people. This is the one thing I know within the Tejano community. The number one thing that you're taught is your family comes first. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't always come first when you're gay. It doesn't even always come first when you're considered women's choice or things like. So there are some loopholes to that, but the one thing that it's not is don't you dare question my grandmother or my Thea or my Theo about where they're from. That is the biggest insult that you can give to anyone in Texas. And so the fact that they are so delusional in Texas now, and they've let the craziest of the crazy loose, they have basically doomed themselves. Because in the past, if this would be considered, someone in their party would have said, listen, I know you want to do this, but we can't afford to lose these guys. They're the ones that are keeping us in power.
It's a really bad idea, not just from optics or political gain.
Yeah. It's just
it's almost like they want a bloodbath. They want
exactly. It's just they're not going to win.
I mean, look how many motorists and joggers of color have been shot by white rednecks or white cops or just cops in general. How many motorists have panicked and run and got shot in the back by cops? Unarmed motorists that did not threaten the police. I mean, we're now having people pull into a driveway just to turn around and get shot, like the young lady did the other day, or a honor student band member that it looks about as menacing as a Mickey Mouse drawing. I mean, this kid, you can tell, and it's not disparaging, but he's looked very cerebral, very nerdy, typical band geek, 16 years old, very slight build, gets shot multiple times, gets shot once by this old white man, and then when he realized what he did, he shoots the kid again to try to kill him. And all this kid's crime was that he accidentally went to the wrong door and knocked on the door to go pick up his 2 younger siblings. But this is the mentality where they've green-lighted the environment to create what they're about to create.
Yeah.
It probably will pass it. And we're going to see a version of a Gestapo formed, a Gestapo militia formed that's going to be saying, where's your papers, to the general public. And I think that's the beginning of these goon squads. But what happens when they post them up at polling stations?
I can tell you what I know of what we know. The last group that you ever want to piss off, and you don't want to piss off any group, but the most important, the lifeline of the Republican Party in Texas, or the MAGA Republican Party right now, are Catholics and Tejanos consider themselves white. When you break that up, just like for Democrats, it's African American and Black voters. Certain demographics, gays voters, are like the lifelong, who support him regardless of whatever. But with that group in Texas, like in Florida, the people you don't want to piss off in Florida are evangelicals and Catholics. And DeSantis did last week with proposing the bill to make it a felony to help an undocumented person. Evangelicals and Catholics have come out and said, the bishop of the Miami area, the most pro-Cuban Catholic group, has said, this is wrong, this is unacceptable, we're not going to stand for this. Those are the ones you don't want to piss off. So the fact that they are so delusional on what they think their power is, they're so delusional that they're going to piss off their own base. And they're not going to piss off the MAGA, poor white trash base, because they want this. Those people, yes, yeah. Those people are the ones that I've been waiting for this sign, and I hope, and I hate to say it like this, but I hope this is the candle that we look back a year from today and we go, Jenny, remember when we talked about that? That was the tipping point. Because I've been waiting for that tipping point in Texas, and I didn't know where it was going to come from. We kept saying, how bad does it have to get before you wake up? This, I hope, is the tipping point, and we'll see. So with that said,
I'll believe it when I see it.
yeah. I was going to make your own statement there.
I thought ending Roe v. Wade and power hours.
So did I.
Would get Hot Wheels Abbott blown out of office for sure.
Yeah.
And make some gains in the legislature of Texas. And it did neither.
I thought the mass slaughter of the Uvalde kids would be the tipping point. Apparently it wasn't. I'm not optimistic. The rest of the country, yes. The majority of the country, yes. I think that we can hold the White House in 2024. I think the Republican slate is a hot mess of the dumbest human beings I've ever seen run for office. So I'm not real worried about them taking the White House. I just hate some states to de-evolve into some type of 1920s Mississippi. Especially our home state.
Especially my birth state. I don't even call it my home state anymore. It's not home for me.
Our birth state, that's a good point, yeah.
It's our birth state, it's our origin story, but where I used to call home does not exist anymore. That place has been dead for a while, and it has turned into this dystopian. I can tell you the last time I lived there, and I lived there for 2 years, from 2016 to 2018 when I moved here. I don't recognize this state anymore. I don't recognize what they've become. I don't recognize the lack of humanity and empathy, which is really sad because it used to exist. It used to exist a lot. And I saw Texans really come together irregardless of whatever label they had. I saw them come through multiple floods in the San Antonio area just 20 years ago. I've seen them overcome so much. And nobody cared if you were from northern Mexico. Yeah, they didn't care if you were gay. And I've seen this de-evolvement of this mentality and this empathy pulled out because of politics, because of one side on the ledger, that cruelty is their primary brand, no matter what you're talking about.
Well, and I hope
when you're working hard to take away school lunches from kids and take away things from kids and create goon squads. I think you cease to become American. I don't know what you become, but I've only read about this mostly in history books. But you've become that. You're not an American.
Mm-hmm. Well, with that, let's end our show. We've gone way over. So thank you for those who are staying with us this long. And when you watch this, thank you for staying this long. So we will go around the Brady Bunch screen. Jenny, the last weekend of April, do you know where you're going to be?
I have no clue. I know that in May, which is coming up next week, if you're watching this live or freshly published, I will, in the middle of May, we have our annual film festival called Reel Out. So I'm looking forward to that. It was an annual event before the pandemic, and it's become an annual event again. And so it's the second edition since the pandemic and our 2-year break. So I'm super excited about that. We're in a new location. We're in the Independent Film House here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And so it's always fun. It's always exciting. And the shorts night, which is the opening night with short films, is always a blast because I got to screen them and now I get to see them up on a screen and have a bunch of Charlotteans enjoy the films along with us. So it's actually an amazing, exciting month.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Well, thank you. And I'm sure I'll be camping somewhere. So, well, I know where. I don't want to tell you. Yeah, that's right. So, listen, we want to thank everyone who joined us on Facebook. And once again, if you want to watch the full video of the review of the William Beckman concert at Billy Bob's Texas, he is from Del Rio, Texas. He is bilingual. He doesn't call himself a Tejano. Yeah, can't have everything. Lives in Nashville now. It's a great, wonderful voice, great singer. There was a couple songs on there that you would recognize. But the most important thing, it was probably the best encore I've ever seen at a concert. He does Volver Volver, which is a very famous song that you'll recognize. Anyway, we will see you next week on Coffee and Pan Dulce. I think I have the music. There we go. Bye, Jen.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for watching Coffee and Pan Dulce. And welcome to May. And we'll see you next week. Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.
Next up, thanks for watching Coffee and Pan Dulce. Next up is Two Queers in a Truck. Stay tuned.
Coffee and Pan Dulce. Coffee and Pan Dulce.